Hi everybody, my name is Jeff, and today we're working on it's a fan shaft for an International 5088 tractor. We've got it in the shop here, we're doing a radiator in it. And as long as we've got it all apart, it's kind of a messed up deal where you've got to take a lot of panels off just to get the radiator out of it. The fan shaft actually goes through a hole in the middle of the radiator where you've got to take it out in the first place. The bearing in the front is questionable. It would probably make it quite a while, but since it's all apart, it'll probably save close to 2 to 3 hours of labor to take it apart just to do the bearing. And well, it wouldn't be that bad. You do have to take a lot of side panels off, and it's kind of a oddball setup. It's about as bad as some of the newer cars nowadays. But anyway, so what we did, we got it out, got the shaft out, looking at the bearing. It's basically mounted in. It's not really a rubber. It's close to like a Delrin, but it's softer than that, and not as soft as a rubber bushing in the bearing. So we sent the fan shaft with the owner to go get parts and some hoses and everything else we need, and see if the radiator was fixable or if we had to get a new one, which there is a new one on the way. And anyway, back to what we're doing here today is a case that while he was at the dealership, supposedly either they took the bearing off for him or it may have been somebody else. He didn't really say for sure what the deal is, but what they ended up doing, instead of pressing it off like I would have done, using a bearing separator, get in on the end of the shaft and you could press it out in a press. Well, they decided to torch it off. Well, apparently they didn't look at it. The shaft was actually originally supposed to be a shaft with a spline on each end, and the hub that the fan rides on is just pressed onto that spline. Well, apparently it had loosened up at some point, or maybe it had a snap ring holding it and the snap ring broke, or whatever happened in the previous owner, I'm not sure. But to make a long story short, it's a case that they torched it off, but torched part of where the bearing's supposed to rest. They torched part of the hub out. And then they welded it back up and thought it was good enough and sent it home with them. Of course, they didn't try putting the new bearing on, which is probably a good thing because I don't think you could have got it on. So what I'm doing now is fixing their screw up. And it would have been a case if he would have just brought it back, and I wasn't sure with the metal housing around it if you had to reuse that part. I didn't look at it that close, didn't have time to. So we just sent it along with him, and he decided to have them do it, and they royally screwed it up. So for a dealership, I'm very disappointed. If it was somebody else that did it for him, I'm still pretty disappointed because it's a major screw up and made a mess where it would have been a lot easier for me to do it or torch it off myself. There was a snap ring groove there that should have gave you the clue that that was part of the hub, and well, they didn't realize that. So thanks for watching anyway. I really appreciate all the views and comments, and enjoy doing this and trying to get more posted, but I'm just so busy that it's kind of a deal, and I need to take more time to do it. I don't see how all these other guys like, Adam and Tom and everybody that way can get videos out weekly, or enjoy even Double Boost for that matter, enjoy their Saturday night specials or Tuesday nights or whatever nights, Monday night meatloaf and whatever else. But I tried it for a while and I just don't have the time to do it now. So really appreciate your viewing and hope you like it.
This is a fan shaft off a 5088 International tractor. It actually goes from a coupler through the radiator, so the fan's in front. But anyway, the bearing, which looks like this new one here, was getting bad on it, so they had a guy take it off for them, and basically they royally screwed it up. You can see a register ridge down here where the bearing's supposed to set against, and then the groove there is supposed to be for a snap ring. Well, when they were torching it off, they apparently thought the race was back here. Originally this hub is supposed to be on a spline shaft here, but the guy that owned the tractor before apparently had welded it on at some point. But anyway, with that snap ring once they torched off too much, they welded it up, and you can see back, it's hard to do this and hold the camera, back on this edge back here, they've got weld up higher than where it's supposed to register, so it's built up too high there. And then there's no snap ring groove on this side, and I'm sure it shows up in the camera there where it looks like a nice egg-shaped buildup on there. It looks like it was welded to this end in here. So I have a feeling it may have been turned around the other way at one point and they replaced the bearing again and welded to the other end, or I'm not sure what they did. So I'll redo the center drill in the end here. I got it set up in the south bend to do that. Clean her up a little bit and see what we get. Looks a little interrupted yet. Looks like it's a little magnetic too. Still got a little bad spot out there, but it's good in far enough where it'll set on the center nice. So now we'll put it in the Hamilton lathe and see how bad the other end looks. Considering what they torched on this end, it's bouncing out a little bit. Running fairly true. You can see it moving up and down some. But considering I'm just chucked up probably 20 inches away, it's running fairly true. Better than I expected. Hamilton lathe here to set it up and put the center in, and then tighten the chuck up. And tightening on that front hub, it actually ends up where when I take the live center and back it off on this end, the shaft actually stays there nice and straight and running true. And checking it up here, well, they did sand and grind some of this, so there's not really an original surface there, but it is close in the one part where probably only off by 4 thousandths at that point. And you get right up next to where the bearing is going to rest, and it's almost 20 thousandths off, but I'm going to make my rest true there. The only problem is this face, the way they've got it welded on. You can see the movement back and forth there. So I'll have to do a skim cut on the face of it to true that back up with the bearing surface and the shaft itself. It's only, I haven't stuck the indicator on it yet. It's probably only about 3 to 4 thousandths off. But I'd rather have it perfect than have the fan wobbling a little bit. This is about a little over 1 thousandth, about 1.5 thou out there, but that's on a painted surface too. It'll be a lot better than the mess they had here. And just to kind of show that this is what they thought was good enough for a bearing surface. Not even close.
Just cleaning it up a little so when I braze it, I won't be hitting the weld here with all this braze. fix the weld in this first, its back end here, and the first part of it is way too high anyway. They had it for a 1-inch bearing, and it's 15 thousandths undersize. It's supposed to be a press fit bearing. There were about 3 points, well they're 5 thousandths over, which is way too much for a press. And a 1-inch bearing. There they got one spot, about a 0.5 thousandths over, so that wasn't bad. So about 1 degree out of 360. Shave a little off the whole works, just so I can build it up more even. And yeah, I won't, when I get back here about another quarter inch, probably won't touch any place. Very intermittent right there already, and not barely touching there. So probably be a good enough cut. And in here you can still see a hole where when they torched it, they torched back too far and blew it out this side. This is part of their weld out there yet. The way it looks, I better shave a little of that off that radius too. Make it right. Couple little spots will hit with a Dremel tool and braze her up and go from there. And the register on the end there, I'm going to fill those holes in a bit too. It's not really necessary, but I like to make it look original yet and get it back to where it should be, should have been.
I'm brazing the hole, snap ring groove shut too. Just clean it up, true it up again. Your weld wiped out better than a third of it. A little bit too high. Heat down a little. I think since I've welded the end of this onto the spline, I'll probably take and braze it on the back side of the shaft here too to make sure it stays put, since our weld on the other end apparently broke at one time. And then I'll try and remember to show you a close-up of what the cat crap looks like for the weld they did before. I was doing better welds than that when I was about 10 or 12 years old. Well, my dad was a good teacher, so. Someday somebody else wants to take this shaft apart. They may not be happy with me doing this, but must have a little bit of something under their spine there too, because didn't want to braze in that one little spot. With a little extra flux, and I finally burn it out. The main reason I'm brazing it all the way around is to keep it even weight wise and everything else. I'm not sure just what RPM this fan runs at, but every little bit helps. As far as with the weld dated and everything, the balance could be off a fuzz anyway, and even with what I'm doing, it could change it some, but shouldn't be enough to hurt. Yeah, she's
And you
good.
can see all these marks on this outer edge out in here and everything. That's where after they did it, they were grinding it off on a big grinding wheel. And you can see marks on the shaft back here. I think they'll probably show up on the video anyway, where they ground into the shaft even. Take a real light cut and see what we got. See how much I can take it down. Like right in there, it could end up a little low yet. Yeah, actually I've got about 90 thousandths to take it off. So. Yeah, I did end up brazing it back up again. Had two little spots I decided I wasn't happy with. Would have been just fine. Oh, 40,000. Close enough I can file it a little bit. About 3/1000 over, and I want to be a thou proud. And right on 3 over there. Let's get where you can see it if the light shows up. Just a thou over. I might sand it just a fuzz because 1-inch bearing, well, thou is pretty good press fit though. Quite often I'll take it down to like 3/4 of a thou. Half thou isn't too bad since this has got a retaining ring. You can see some of their weld showing through at the back there and out here. Guess if the light wasn't in the way, you could see more. I like that much better. A little flux on there. not going to bother facing this off. You can see about how far it off is. When I was taking the flux off, I brought her in until she started to touch there. And you get down to the center, it's actually touching, but up in here, I did put the dial indicator on, and it is 4 thousandths off, about at the bolt pattern, so I will face this other side a little bit. Get the groove cut, and we're good to go for the bearing. This is actually a parting tool that I had ground down at some point for something else. The snap ring is actually 50 thousandths. That's actually what this is, so I'm going to widen it just a little bit. The groove is almost 80 thousandths, and the smallest cutoff tool I got is 82. I don't want that sloppy of a groove anyway. And down to where it's hitting original metal, it gives me enough play for a snap ring. I like that. I'm actually about 65, 66 thousandths for that groove width. And as I say, the ring itself is 50. That should do it. I'll get her turned around and set up to face off that other side. Might even face this side yet before I'm done, it'd look better. Okay, I've got it set back up in the south bend now. Took one pass here, and as you can see on this side, still not touching there. So it wasn't just at the hub itself. From the factory it was apparently worked a little bit. Not as close to tolerances as I'd like to have, but I guess that's normal. Some bullet holes there. Yeah, it looks like vibration is screwing the camera up there too. Got one leg of the tripod is sitting on here, and haven't got my other mount modified for this lathe yet. Sorry about that. Much better. Knock that ridge off a little bit. That'll do it. Ready to press the bearing on, and when I get the radiator done, ready to go back on the tractor. I did start to take some of the weld off, and there it feels about like a hard facing rod. I'm not sure what they tried to weld that with, but I was going to make it look better, but I'm not going to bother since it's the way it was when I came here. Didn't know how well that groove showed up before, and you can see some of their weld, and I didn't take it down as far as I had planned to. And I should have done a facing cut on this back side too, but there again, that's the way it came to me, so that's what they're gonna get. Little paint job, and looks good as new. And actually a little better, because like I say, I think that hub was actually a little bit off from the factory, because the way it was machined, it wasn't just from something they screwed up or heat warping it a little bit or having it the spline bad and they welded it on wrong or something that way.
That'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. And I do, well, hopefully here, if the weather cooperates, I've got a couple little casting projects I'm going to show. And a couple guys kind of wanted me to do a little more explaining on ramming the sand up and the type of sand I use and what I'm doing. And I've actually got one coming up that I'm making a wooden pattern for a pulley for an old Baker monitor single cylinder engine. So I'll try and show how I make the pattern and everything that way, and ram it up, cast it, and machine it off. So hopefully I'll get time to do it anyway. That's kind of a project for myself instead of somebody else. So